Imagine you are standing in the middle of a vast square. Chaos rages around you. Thousands of people are shouting, demanding attention, trying to sell something or impose their opinions. News flashes across bright screens, reporting another crisis, disaster, or political scandal. Your gadgets vibrate, demanding an immediate response. You feel anxiety growing, your chest tightening from the inability to control this torrent. Now imagine a person standing in the midst of this storm. He doesn't cover his ears, doesn't run away, and doesn't shout back. He is absolutely calm. His face doesn't express indifference, but there's no trace of fear on it either. He is like a rock against which waves break, remaining unmoved. This person possesses a secret that is over 2,000 years old. A secret that allowed slaves to feel freer than emperors, and emperors to find peace amidst bloody wars. This secret is Stoicism. And today, we embark on a long, deep journey into the heart of this philosophy. We won't merely list beautiful phrases for social media statuses. We will dissect each idea down to its atoms, test its resilience against centuries of history, and apply it to our modern, incredibly complex lives. Settle in comfortably, turn off notifications, allow yourself the luxury of a deep immersion. Ahead of us is a long path to understanding how words become deeds and thoughts an unyielding fortress. We often hear the word stoic in everyday speech. Usually, it describes someone who grits their teeth and endures pain without shedding a tear. A person without emotions, a kind of living robot. But this is a grave misconception and a tragic oversimplification. True stoicism is not the absence of feelings. It is not the suppression of human nature. On the contrary, it is the ultimate concentration of life. It is the art of correct judgment. It is the ability to love so strongly as to be ready to let go of what is loved at any moment. It is the ability to enjoy every sip of wine and every ray of sunshine, understanding that this sip and this ray might be the last. Stoicism is a philosophy not for library dust, but for trenches, for hospital wards, for boardrooms, and for quiet kitchens where family destinies are decided. It is an operating system for the human mind, created in antiquity, but functioning flawlessly even in the age of artificial intelligence. Why? Because technology changes, scenery changes, but the nature of human suffering, hope, and fear remains unchanged. Let's start with the foundation, with the soil on which this mighty tree grew. To understand the words of the Stoics, one must understand where they came from. The history of Stoicism begins with a disaster, literally. Around 300 BC, a wealthy Phoenician merchant named Zeno was transporting a cargo of precious purple dye across the Mediterranean Sea. A sudden storm destroyed his ship. All his cargo, all his fortune, everything he relied on in life sank to the bottom. Zeno himself miraculously survived and was washed ashore in Athens. Imagine his state. In an instant, from a respected rich man, he became a destitute stranger without a home or friends. Most people in his situation would have fallen into despair, cursed the gods, or sought a way to end their lives. But Zeno went into a bookstore. He began reading works about Socrates and asked the seller, "Where can I find such people?" The seller pointed to the philosopher Crates passing by. Thus began the transformation. Later, Zeno would utter his famous phrase, "My most profitable voyage was when I suffered shipwreck." Ponder these words. Disaster became a beginning. The loss of external wealth led to the discovery of inner wealth. Zeno could not teach at the prestigious Platonic Academy or Aristotle's Lyceum. He was a foreigner, a barbarian in the eyes of the Athenian elite. So he chose the most democratic place, the painted Stoa. This was an open colonnade in the Athenian agora, the marketplace where life buzzed. There, amidst the noise of merchants, the smells of fish and spices, he began to teach. From the name of this place, Stoa, came the name of the entire school, Stoicism. This is symbolic. Stoicism was not born in an ivory tower, but in the marketplace, amidst real life. It was created for people who live in a world full of unpredictability. And the first, most important lesson the Stoics gave the world was the concept of the dichotomy of control. It sounds like a dry term, but in reality, it is the key to absolute freedom. The great Stoic Epictetus, a former slave who limped because his master had broken his leg, formulated it with crystal clarity. Of things that exist, some are in our power, others are not. Seems obvious? Don't rush. Let's delve deeper. What exactly is in our power? Only our thoughts, our desires, our aspirations, and our aversions. Simply put, our inner world and our reactions. And what is not in our power? Our body, our property, our reputation, our rank, the opinions of others, the weather, the economy, traffic jams, the past, and the future. All of these are external. And this is where the magic happens. Suffering, say the Stoics, arises exclusively when we try to control what is beyond our control. We get angry when it rains, even though our emotions have no effect on the clouds. We fall into depression when someone criticizes us, even though we cannot control another person's mind. We worry about a future that doesn't yet exist. We spend a colossal amount of vital energy fighting reality instead of working with the only thing that is within our power, our attitude towards this reality. Epictetus teaches us, if you want your children or wife never to die, you are a fool, because you want to rule over that which does not belong to you. But if you want your desires not to be thwarted, desire only that which depends on you. This is a radical thought. It is frightening. Should we not care about the health of our loved ones? Of course we should. But a Stoic does everything possible for treatment, everything possible for care, while understanding that the final outcome, whether the person recovers or not, is in the hands of fate, doctors, biology, God, but not entirely within his power. This understanding removes paralyzing fear and allows for maximum effective action. A Stoic is an archer. He carefully chooses the bow, checks the string, considers the wind, aims, and takes the shot. This is within his power. But once the arrow has left, he can no longer influence it. If a sudden gust of wind carries the arrow off course, or the target moves, it is not the archer's fault. He did everything he could. His success lies in the quality of the shot, not in hitting the target. Let's move from theory to practice and talk about a figure who embodies Stoicism in the highest echelons of power. Seneca, Lucius Annaeus Seneca, the wealthiest man in Rome, a playwright, tutor to Emperor Nero. His life was full of contradictions. He preached moderation while possessing immense wealth. He taught virtue while in the court of one of history's cruelest tyrants. Critics often accuse him of hypocrisy. But if we read his moral letters to Lucilius, we see a man who every day wages a painful struggle with himself, trying to become better. Seneca is a Stoic for us, imperfect people. One of Seneca's central themes is time. His treatise on the shortness of life is perhaps the most powerful text on time management ever written. Seneca begins with a gut punch. We complain that life is short, yet we act as if it were endless. Think about it. How often do we kill time? We sit on social media, watch TV shows we don't even like, engage in pointless arguments. We postpone real life for later. Once I retire, then I'll truly live. Once I earn $1 million, then I'll start traveling. Seneca cries out to us across the centuries. You put off until tomorrow what is in the hands of fate. Live now. He compares time to money. If someone asked us for $1,000, we would likely hesitate or refuse. But when someone asks for our time, give me a minute, let's just sit around, we give it away generously without counting. Yet time is the only resource that cannot be replenished. Money can be earned again. Health can be restored. Time passes irrevocably. Seneca's most terrifying phrase is, Many die without ever beginning to live. They were busy preparing for life. They set up their homes, built careers, wove intrigues, but life itself, the conscious living of the moment, they postponed. And suddenly, death comes, and the person realizes that they were busy, but they did not live. Seneca offers a harsh but effective exercise. At the end of each day, review it as if it were the last day of your life. I have lived, he says as he falls asleep. This does not mean giving up. It means that if tomorrow comes, it will be a pleasant bonus, a gift, not an entitlement. Imagine how your morning would change if you perceived it not as routine, but as an unexpected gift of fate. The taste of coffee would be brighter. Annoyance with loved ones would disappear. Why waste precious bonus minutes on quarrels? This is Stoicism in action, a transformation of perspective. But Stoicism is not only about managing time and desires. It is also about incredible resilience in the face of fate's blows. And here we cannot do without Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, the last of the 5 good emperors, master of the world. He had everything: absolute power, wealth, legions. He could afford any pleasure, any whim. But instead, he spent most of his reign in military tents on the empire's borders, defending Rome from barbarians and fighting a plague that decimated the population. His book Meditations, or To Myself, is a unique document. It was not intended for publication. It is the personal diary of the most powerful man on earth, which he wrote by the campfire after difficult battles, trying to guide himself on the path of truth. Reading Marcus Aurelius, we see a man who feels the weight of the world on his shoulders. He writes to himself, "When you are reluctant to get up in the morning, tell yourself, I am rising to do the work of a human being. Am I made for this, to warm myself under the blankets?" How familiar that is, isn't it? The emperor of Rome also didn't want to get up in the mornings. He too struggled with procrastination, but he appealed to a sense of duty. For a Stoic, a person is like a bee in a hive or a finger on a hand. He is part of a whole. A bee cannot live without the hive. A finger is useless without the hand. Our nature is social. Our destiny is to work for the common good. What is not good for the hive is not good for the bee, writes Marcus. In the modern world of individualism, this thought sounds revolutionary. We are accustomed to asking, "What's in it for me?" A Stoic asks, "What can I give to the world?" And the paradox is that precisely by giving, by fulfilling one's duty, one finds the deepest satisfaction that cannot be obtained through consumption. Marcus Aurelius also often reflects on people who annoy us. He, the emperor, constantly encountered betrayal, stupidity, and greed from courtiers. How not to snap? How not to become a tyrant? He writes himself a reminder. People exist for one another. Either teach them or endure them. And an even more powerful thought: the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. If someone acts basely towards you and you respond with baseness, you become just like them. You lose the battle for your soul. Evil triumphs by infecting you. To preserve virtue, to maintain one's humanity in response to injustice, that is true victory. This is not weakness, it is strength of spirit, surpassing physical strength. Remember Nelson Mandela or Viktor Frankl. They survived in inhumane conditions precisely because of this Stoic principle. My freedom of movement can be taken away, my food can be taken away, but no one can take away my freedom to choose how I will relate to my tormentors. Let's delve into one of the most famous concepts of Stoicism, memento mori, remember death. In medieval art, this was often depicted as skulls and skeletons, frightening people with hell. But for the Stoics, it has a completely different, life-affirming meaning. Death for a Stoic is not a scare tactic, but a measure. It is a tool for setting priorities. When you are faced with a choice, to be offended by a silly joke or to laugh along with everyone, remember death. Will this offense matter on your deathbed? No. Then discard it now. When you are afraid to start a new endeavor, remember death. What do you have to lose? In the scale of eternity, your failure is nothing, but your inaction is also nothing, so it's better to try. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This is not an invitation to suicide. It is an invitation to immediate mindfulness. Imagine that a doctor told you, you have 1 year left to live. How would your life change? Would you stop worrying about colleagues' opinions? Would you finally write that book? Would you reconcile with your brother? Stoicism asks, why wait for a diagnosis? Live that way today. Remove the superfluous. Keep only the essence. Death makes life precious precisely because it is finite. Gold is valued for its rarity. Life is valuable for its brevity. Now let's talk about the concept of amor fati, love of fate. This term, popularized by Nietzsche, has deep Stoic roots. Epictetus said, "Do not demand that events happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they happen, and your life will proceed happily." This is perhaps the most difficult for modern man. We are raised in a paradigm of fighting circumstances. We are told, don't give up, bend the world to your will. But the Stoics say, love what happens. Attention, this is not passivity. It is not the submissiveness of a victim. Imagine a fire. Your house burned down. That's a fact. You can scream, cry, tear your hair out. It won't bring the house back, and you will feel worse. This is rejecting fate. You can dryly say, well, okay, it burned down. That's resignation. But amor fati is to say, excellent. This house was old. Now I am free from attachment to things. Now I can build something new, better. Or I can move. This fire is fuel for my new start. The Stoics use the metaphor of fire. A strong fire turns everything thrown into it into flame and light. Throw a log into a small campfire, it will extinguish. Throw a log into a raging fire, it will only strengthen it. A Stoic strives to be such a fire. An obstacle is the way. Illness is an opportunity to train patience. Loss of money is a lesson in non-attachment. The slander of enemies is a training in self-confidence. There is nothing that could make a Stoic worse, because worse for him is only his own vice, his own baseness or cowardice. And external events are just material for the work of virtue. Just as wood is for the carpenter and leather for the shoemaker, so are life circumstances for the Stoic, material for the art of living. We have covered the basic figures and main concepts. But how is this applicable to details? Let's delve into a topic that concerns everyone, anger. Seneca dedicated an entire book to it, on anger. He called anger a temporary madness. Look at an angry person, face distorted, veins bulging, voice breaking, logic absent. He is ready to destroy everything he holds dear for a minute of satisfaction. Seneca asserts, anger is never useful. Some say that anger helps in battle or in sports. Seneca counters, weapons must be controlled, but anger controls you.
If you give in to anger, you might hit harder, but you will lose tactics. You will expose yourself. You will make a mistake. It's the same in life. Anger towards a subordinate will not teach him to work better. It will only sow fear and hatred in him. Anger towards a child will not educate him, but traumatize him. Where does anger come from? From disappointed expectations. We get angry when reality does not match our worldview. You're driving to a meeting and suddenly a traffic jam. You hit the steering wheel. Why? Because you had an idea in your head. The road should be clear. But this is a false idea. You live in a metropolis. Traffic jams here are a natural part of the landscape, like mountains or rivers. Getting angry at a traffic jam is as foolish as getting angry that water is wet. The Stoic remedy for anger is pessimism, or more accurately, realism. Premeditatio malorum, premeditation of evils. In the morning as you leave home, tell yourself, today I will encounter an arrogant driver, an ungrateful colleague, a rude waiter. Imagine this in advance, and when it happens, you will smile. You will say, I knew you would come. I was waiting for you. and anger will not flare up. Surprise is the fuel for anger. Remove the surprise and you disarm the emotion. Seneca writes, "Everything you expect comes easier." This leads us to a very interesting nuance of Stoic psychology, working with impressions. Our mind constantly generates judgments. We see a person in an expensive car and think, he is happy. This is a judgment. It might be false. Maybe he's in debt and on his way to a divorce. We see a person in rags and think, he is unhappy. This is also a judgment. Stoicism teaches us to pause between stimulus and reaction, between what we see and what we think about it. Imagine you've been insulted. Stimulus, sound waves reached your ears. That's physics. Then your brain interprets these sounds as words. That's linguistics. But then comes the choice. I have been humiliated. This is a judgment. And an emotion follows, resentment or rage. A Stoic intervenes at the judgment stage. He tells himself, this person uttered offensive words. This speaks to his ill breeding or his problems. It doesn't concern me unless I myself agree to accept this insult. If someone is able to make you angry, he has become your master, warns Epictetus. Would you really hand over the keys to your peace of mind to the first rude person you meet? A Stoic keeps those keys to himself. He creates an inner citadel. This does not mean he closes himself off from the world. It means that within him there is a space where evil has no access.